Hi there, my name is Travis, and I wanted to talk about ayahuasca today. Ayahuasca is becoming very popular right now for a lot of different reasons, and most people know of it as a plant medicine from the Amazon, and it often will be made of two plants, the ayahuasca vine, which is called Monasteriopsis caapi. The traditional or common name for it is ayahuasca. And there's often another plant called chacruna or Psychotria viridis, which is added to the brew. The ayahuasca vine is a really interesting plant. I actually have a little cross section cut from it here. This is just a little piece of vine, maybe a 5 or 7 year old vine. This is how thick they get. They can get a lot thicker when they're older. And the ayahuasca plant is known to have beta-carboline MAOIs or MAO inhibitors, which are called harmine, harmala, and tetrahydroharmine. There's three of them. And these MAOIs are slightly psychoactive on their own. If you're working with just the vine, it's generally a very gentle and more subtle experience. But when you add the chacruna plant, chacruna has DMT in it. And normally when you eat DMT, it's not orally active. But when you take an MAOI, like the ayahuasca vine, the DMT becomes orally active. And in this case, the DMT also potentiates the effects of the ayahuasca vine. So I mentioned, there's three different MAOIs in this plant, which are psychoactive on their own, just very subtle. And so the ayahuasca, a lot of times if you're drinking it just on its own without chacruna, it's hard to connect to for a lot of people. But when you add the chacruna plant, it becomes very easy to connect to, becomes more visionary, and a lot of people say the ayahuasca vine is the teacher, and it's almost like this cave or library, and the chacruna with the DMT is the flashlight that lets you see the books in the library or see the walls of the cave, so you can see what's in there, what you're interacting with. Um, Plants pretty amazing for a lot of reasons. Uh, the MAOIs or the beta-carbolines that are in the ayahuasca vine are known to help create neural growth. Brain cells and neural cells will grow better with this. It's known to be effective for helping diabetes, and it's also a natural antidepressant. And the vine itself has this very deep wisdom in it. And one of the most powerful parts of this plant is it helps teach you about other plants. So in the Amazon, there's all these medicinal plants. There's hundreds of them. And some of them are extremely powerful and can do so much. But how do you learn about all these plants? There's so many plants in the Amazon that there's no way that you could really learn about all of them through trial and error. So if you ask the indigenous people how they learned to heal with these different medicines, they'll tell you the plants told them. And a lot of the way they communicate with these plants is either through tobacco or through ayahuasca. And so a lot of times, say maybe an ayahuasquero, which is what they call the shamans who work with ayahuasca, and their ayahuasca vision, they'll see like, oh, I need to connect with this plant and learn about it. Maybe they see a vision of the ahosacha plant. And so they will put a little bit of ahosacha in the ayahuasca and drink the ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca will then teach them about ahosacha and how to diet the plant, how to connect with the plant, how to use it in ceremony, how to use it as medicine. And so it's this very amazing way to learn about all these medicinal plants and open up the medicine of all these other medicinal plants. So the reason that I think ayahuasca is so powerful is because it helps you access all these medicinal plants that otherwise we wouldn't know about at all. And because it helps you access all these different plants, its power is almost limitless, because when you really understand how to work with these plants, we could potentially heal almost anything. For every illness out there, there's probably a plant that can help people heal it. So a lot of times they'll make this brew with the ayahuasca and chacruna, and they'll brew them for a long time. It'll often take a day or maybe even 2 days to brew the ayahuasca, and they'll cook it really slow over fire so that they don't burn it. And after they've cooked long enough, they'll strain out the plant material and they'll cook it really, really slow to reduce it. So it takes a really long time, and the whole time they're cooking it, they're singing to it, praying over it, blowing tobacco smoke in it, putting a lot of intention and magic into it to make really powerful spiritual medicine. When you sing to it, you're really engaging the spirit of the plant. And that's where the real medicine is in the consciousness and the spirit of this plant. So in ayahuasca ceremony, it's common to do nighttime ceremonies. And, there's a lot of different ways to do ayahuasca ceremonies, but commonly they will be done in a type of hut that's called a maloca. It's a big round ceremonial hut that can fit a number of people. And generally the ayahuasquero will always drink, and a lot of times an ayahuasquero will work with other ayahuasqueros, or maybe they'll have apprentices, so there might be a couple people that are helping facilitate the ceremony. And the clients who are coming for healing or insight may or may not be drinking. A lot of the locals are kind of scared of ayahuasca because sometimes it can make you feel sick or give you dark visions, and so they might not even drink. They might just come to be sung to by the ayahuasquero. A lot of Westerners that are going down really want to have the full experience, so they want to drink ayahuasca, and oftentimes that's encouraged because the ayahuasquero is doing a lot of healing work through their songs, but the ayahuasca on its own can provide a lot of insight and in its own type of healing. So you're just empowering all the healing work that's going on by coming at it from multiple angles. So in a common ceremony, say everybody's going to drink in the ceremony, you'll all come into the maloka, you'll sit down, you'll generally have a mat, a pillow, a blanket, and a bucket, and maybe a cup of water. You might have some other things that you want to help you be comfortable in ceremony, but generally those are the only things you need. And they might start the ceremony by blowing tobacco smoke on everybody or blowing tobacco smoke into the ayahuasca. Maybe they'll sing a little song to the ayahuasca before they start, and then they'll serve everybody a cup of the drink. And some places it's like a big cup or a big bowl that you have to drink, and it's really watery. A lot of places reduce it, so you're only taking about a shot glass. Maybe about 2 ounces of medicine. And sometimes it tastes kind of decent, sometimes it tastes pretty horrible. It's kind of famous for having a horrible taste. Sometimes it tastes better your first time drinking it and gets a little worse after you've been challenged by it a couple times in ceremonies. I think it kind of tastes like a mix of licorice, coffee, chocolate, and a little vomit. I know it sounds delicious. And drink it, and then you'll generally sit in complete darkness. Some places will sit around a fire or might leave a candle on during the ceremony, but a lot of healers like to have complete darkness so that they can see the visions better. And so you'll sit and you'll wait for the effects to come on, and it might take 30 to 45 minutes for the effects to start. And when the effects start, often the ayahuasquero will start singing icaros, which are medicine songs. And they'll sing different songs calling on different spirits to protect and empower the ceremonial space. Maybe they'll sing to themselves a little bit first to work on their own energy. And there's different styles of ceremony. In some ceremonies, the ayahuasquero just sings to the whole room, and a lot of times they'll call in like doctor spirits to work on people, or they're trying to open up different parts of the medicine with their songs. And so a lot of that ceremony, they'll just sing a lot of different songs, and a lot of times you'll feel like the songs are changing your experience, guiding you a little bit, helping you, supporting you, helping you purge something, helping you release something, helping you move into something. And a lot of people go to Shipibo ceremonies, which is a style that I have the most experience with. And something cool about how some of the Shipibo work is they do a lot of one-on-one individual work. So in those ceremonies, we'll start with a couple songs protecting the space and straightening out their own energy, and then when they're ready they'll call the participants up one by one, or they might go to each participant one by one, and they'll sing each person an individual ikaro straight into them, working on specific healing for that person in that moment. And I love that style because you really get to feel the full power of an ikaro in that moment, and it's an ikaro that's just for you, that's being inspired by you and what you need. And so it's this really cool thing where your needs are inspiring the ikaro, and at the same time the plant spirits are singing through the shaman, and the shaman is singing to the plant spirits, and the plant spirits are reacting to that and affecting you to help your healing. And it's a sensation that's kind of indescribable unless you've experienced it. Um, Ayahuasca is famous for the purge. Um, it's known that a lot of people, when they drink ayahuasca, they'll vomit a couple times. There's other types of purges too. Sometimes you'll cry a lot, or laugh, or sweat, or shake, yawn. A lot of times you'll have yawn so big you feel like your jaw's gonna crack. And not everybody pukes in every ceremony, and certain ayahuasqueros focus more on wanting people to purge, so they might put more purgative plants into the medicine, like tobacco, for example. It's not always just two plants. A lot of times there's other plants added into the ayahuasca to change its effects or strengthen its effects. And during the experience, ayahuasca is known for being a very visionary medicine. So not everybody will have visions, but a lot of times you might have visions of yourself, of your life, people in your life. You might have visions of plants or animals, or like jungle type visions. Some people will see like temples or angels, or sometimes it feels like you're just seeing some visions. Sometimes it feels like you're actually leaving your body and being completely immersed in visions, which can be sometimes scary and very intense, but sometimes can also be very beautiful and amazing experience. Um, you know, all, I feel like all the plant medicines, they all have their own spirit, but ayahuasca is especially known for people having really direct experiences of like this consciousness within the plant. A lot of people call it Mother Ayahuasca, and they'll say like, "Oh, she came to me, this lady or this serpent or this jaguar came and like talked to me and showed me these things, and they felt like the spirit of this plant knew exactly what they needed and could show them wisdom that they wouldn't have been able to understand on their own or find on their own." And uh, it's a really powerful experience that can shift your worldview in a very dramatic way. So the medicine really a lot of times focuses on helping people purify. In this tradition, a lot of the healers I know, they focus on helping you face you and work through your shadow, and to clear your shadow and to let go of heavy energies. That's why sometimes there's a lot of purging. You're letting go of these heavy energies that are maybe holding you back in your life or causing you difficulty. And by letting those go, you create all this space for something new, for love and light and all these things that you want to create. Sometimes people experience, they're really just seeing things from a different perspective. So they'll see their family, like a family member that they haven't been getting along with, and all of a sudden they'll understand that person and their relationship to them, and they'll understand how to fix their relationship or deepen their relationship and do something new with them. Or you'll be inspired with, uh, like, maybe you're depressed and you have some trauma from your past. You'll find a new perspective that lets you look at that trauma differently so that you can heal it and move through it, and it becomes a source of strength and power for you because it's something that you overcame that made you stronger and that taught you a very powerful lesson and made you who you are. So, a lot of times the ceremonies can be very difficult, but a good ceremony, people will often leave with gratitude because they feel like they just let go of something that was holding them back, and so you feel like liberation and freedom. And at the same time, you reach a lot of understanding and compassion, and so you start seeing ways to change the habits that are holding you back, to change your perspectives that are holding you back. You see ways like, I hear a lot of people that work with ayahuasca tell me like they got inspired to start eating healthier and living more healthy, and they got inspired to start a meditation practice or start a gratitude practice, or just change these details about their life that help them live in a more happy and fulfilling way. And that's a beautiful thing because a lot of us, we make our own lives harder by holding on to our pain and letting our fears control us. And when you liberate yourself from that control, and it doesn't mean the fear is not there, it just means you're willing to face your fear and not let it control you anymore. You start to have true freedom, and you start to really know yourself on a deeper level, not letting your outside circumstances dictate who you are, but really finding your truth and holding that truth and expressing it in a really pure way. Um, Ayahuasca, it's from the Amazon, but because it's so popular, it's been spreading recently. A lot of people ask me, should I work with it in the Amazon or should I work with it at home? And I think it's best to work with it wherever feels right to you. When I see people work with ayahuasca at home near where they live, I feel like maybe it's a little easier for them to integrate it because they're not stepping so far out of their day-to-day life. Um, they're really, you do your ceremony, you have some insights, and immediately you go back to your regular life and start integrating them one step at a time. And so it's really easy to integrate things. In the Amazon, there is definitely something very magical and special about the jungle there. There's a unique experience like spending time in the jungle, and especially a lot of the centers there don't have electricity. Some of them don't have running water, so you start learning how to just live really simple for a couple weeks, and that simplicity gets you out of your daily routine and teaches you how to appreciate small things and some ways can kind of humble you a little bit. And so when you're in that retreat setting, there's something really amazing about how, since you're out of your normal routine, it's easier to make really big changes in your life. The challenge is then integrating those changes well when you go back home. And for some people, it's easier than others. It really helps if you have community at home, and if you have some, if you have a journal, you can write down like the actions you want to take to help you integrate things. Like maybe you have insights you need to eat differently, or you need to work on your relationships with certain people, or you need to start a gratitude practice or meditation practice. Following through on those things is what really helps you keep the benefits the longest from ceremony. Um, for me, ayahuasca has two things that really draw me to the tradition, and they're my two favorite parts about the tradition. One of them is the medicine songs. I mentioned there's a lot of different ways of doing ayahuasca ceremony, but the one constant through all of them is that they all have medicine songs of some kind, whether it's with instruments or with just the voice or a combination, whether they sing in Shipibo or Quechua or Spanish. There's always songs to help guide the ceremony, and the music is incredibly beautiful, especially when you're in ceremony. You can appreciate the Icaros and what they're doing, and they make a lot of sense in that space and sound like something you've never heard before, and it's a completely new type of beauty. I also really love the side of the ayahuasca tradition that's called vegetalismo, where you connect with the different plants. Ayahuasca can teach you about all these different medicinal plants, and one of the very powerful way of connecting more deeply with those plants is dieting the plants, or the practice of vegetalismo, spiritual herbalism. So in this practice, say I mentioned that plant ahosacha before. Say you have a lot of heavy energies, um, or like the healer looks at your energy and feels like maybe you have some, they call it sorcery a lot of times, but I just call it heavy energies that they want to help you clear out. They might prescribe you aho sacha for a plant diet, and so maybe for a week or two or a month or two you'll diet this plant aho sacha, and during that time you're inviting the spirit of the plant into you to teach you and help you heal and grow. And you might be drinking ayahuasca during your diet to help you connect on a more conscious level with that plant. And so it really deepens the experience. And the beautiful thing about a dieta is you're forming a lifelong bond with that plant, especially when you do these longer diets, like a month or longer. You really form this connection with the plant that you have for life. And so, like one of my favorite plants I dieted in the past was coca. And if I feel like I'm lethargic or I need to focus or I need some clarity on something I'm trying to figure out, I might pray and call on coca, and I'll feel the energy of coca come back, even though I dieted it years ago. I'll still feel that connection to it, and that energy comes back, and it helps me have clarity in my thoughts and focus in my vision so that I can really be a powerful creator in my life when I need to be. So I really love the dieting vegetalismo part of the ayahuasca tradition, and the songs. Those are what really draws me to the tradition and why I keep coming back to it. But ayahuasca itself, it can be an intimidating and it can be a really challenging medicine, but it's a powerful and beautiful teacher, and it's helped me a lot. And part of the reason it's so popular is because this tradition that's behind it really makes it effective and makes it do deep work. And a lot of people have trouble finding traditions like that for other medicines, like mushrooms, for example. Um, so if you feel the calling to work with ayahuasca, I think it is worth looking into. The main thing I recommend is that you really focus on finding the right practitioner for you. I think a good ayahuasquero makes the biggest difference in your ceremony, whether or not you're going to have a ceremony that wasn't so good, or an okay one, or a great one, or the best ceremony in the world. I think a lot of that's going to be dependent on the skill and quality of the person serving the medicine and hosting the ceremony. So I really recommend putting in your time into finding a good healer. If you are one of the people who's deciding to work with this medicine on your own, I do recommend starting with just the vine on its own. Leave out the DMT for a while. This is a gentler way to connect with it, so you can start to build a relationship before you go deeper. And when you do add chacruna into the plant, into the tea, I recommend like a little bit at a time and start with small doses. And as you get more experience, you can work your way up. If you're going to work with this on your own, I really recommend reading my book, The Plant Remedy, because it has a lot of details and guides on how to create a safe and effective ceremony for yourself. And it even has recipes and guidance for microdosing the plant, which is great for starting to build a relationship to it. And it's also great for depression, since the plant's a natural antidepressant. It has recommendations for dieting different plants so that you can feel like you have some allies when you go into stronger ceremonies. And it has recipes for making ayahuasca and just tips for making a good ceremony. With ayahuasca, more than other plants, I do recommend sitting with a facilitator or a healer when you can, but I do know some people who started by drinking on their own, and they had good results, and it still helped them. The people I know who did have good results did take their time with it, and they put in a lot of work and time, probably a lot more work and time than the people who went to go see healers. When you see a healer, you can go deep right away, and the healer can help you do a lot of deeper work and help you do more focused work than you would be able to on your own, most likely. But I think everybody has to find the way to work with the medicine that fits their needs and fits what's available to them. Um, I hope this was an insightful video for you. It's a beautiful plant. I love talking about ayahuasca. If you want to share any of your thoughts or experiences, or if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I love hearing back from people. And definitely check out my website, soulremedy.org. I'll talk to you later.